Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
Off and running after further review here on a Thursday, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Musso in for Moscona, Jordan Kitchens, Paul O'Neill, and all of you. And we could not be happier to have you along for the ride today. Matt, wheels up for Nashville, Tennessee. He'll bring you AFR from Friends in Low Places on Broadway tomorrow. So I'm here with you for these 3 hours. And again, could not be more fired up. We got Brian Kelly audio. He updated injuries. We will go through that. There is one specific angle in this football game between LSU and Vanderbilt that I think decides it, that I'm fired up to dive into. We also have Fantasy Blitz with Darren Teakin, so please start lining up your questions there. Lee Sterling with his best bets, Mike Triplett, just an overall ton to do here on Thursday's AFR. I gotta say, this is my first time sitting at the set with kind of the new stuff, including the giant cane dog.
How you feel about it, man?
I am not sure how Matt does this show every day and doesn't get distracted with that sitting across from him. I love Kane. I love raising canes.
Yes.
That thing just looks a lot bigger at the desk than it does sitting where I normally do over there where you're at, Jordan.
Honestly,
that's huge.
Honestly, it's a little bit bigger, but it's one of those dolls where you feel like there's a camera inside of it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just watching us every time you come in and out of it.
I keep catching it out of my peripheral vision every time.
And it's like it might blink every now and then. I don't know. It's giving me the heebie-jeebies.
I'm also the same height as it, which is more a me problem than anything else. It's more of a hereditary issue that I deal with.
Well, you know, he's a co-host. The co-host.
But I mean, there we go. We'll toss it to Kane, I guess, throughout. All right, let us begin as we do every day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Okay, so LSU, they changed up the practice schedule a little bit here on Thursday. Tigers are on fall break, so that actually aligns great with the early kickoff because what Brian Kelly decided to do, well, since y'all are off of class, we'll have practice early. We'll simulate it just like we will on game day, get you up early, pregame meal, practice 11. So after Kelly meets with the media earlier than, I don't know, what is it, normally like 4:45, 5 o'clock here on a Thursday. It was about 1 o'clock here today. And the first thing he's going to be asked is injuries. He tried to knock it out. Honestly, when he got up there, he says, okay, availability. And he ran through all of it, said, no, we got that out of the way. Let's blow through this. Y'all can get ready for lunch. Knowing, obviously, tongue-in-cheek, there would be follow-up specifically about Whit Weeks. So when the first availability report drops on Wednesday evening, Whit Weeks' name pops up as questionable, along with Jabari Butler. Those were the two guys listed as questionable. You had Paul Mubenga, Aaron Anderson as probable, and Bernard Gooden listed as doubtful. None of those statuses changed when Brian Kelly gave his update. All of that remains the same. But the follow-up was, okay, well, with Weeks and Butler, if they're questionable, what do they need to do in order to be ready to go on Saturday morning when LSU faces Vanderbilt?
When we get to a Thursday, Matt, mostly we're game time decisioning, right? They're making progress. We're seeing that there's a chance that these guys could be ready on Saturday. So then like Aaron, we worked him out in pregame, and he was just okay. He wasn't explosive. And I don't want to put a guy out on the field that can't help us. We're not going to put him in that situation. So we think we've got a little bit more time. We're less than 48 hours out, but we feel like we want to wait until game time.
It's an ankle injury for both. Whit Weeks, you'll remember that happened back in the Ole Miss game. Obviously, He went through a rehab process, whatnot, was able to play against South Carolina and played quite well. Jamari Butler injured his ankle in that South Carolina game. I take what Brian Kelly said in that word for word truth. Like we have no reason to doubt him there. Aaron Anderson was questionable. There was the report later in the week that he was going to be doubtful, but they put him through warmups. Okay, it wasn't right. He sat. But with Whit Weeks having kind of gone through this already a week ago and playing against South Carolina, and just I think we're all aware of how that young man's wired. He's going to want to be out there. And I think if you got Brian Kelly really in a candid moment right now, he'd tell you, okay, yeah, it's probably going to be a go for Whit Weeks. And it needs to be. LSU has to have Whit Weeks out there for the leadership, for just the pure ability to make that whole thing go going up against this high-powered Vanderbilt offense. If I had to guess, and this is a guess, I would say Whit Weeks plays. Jamari Butler, I would say it leans toward him playing as well. The interesting concept there is, what if you don't have either of those guys? What if they go out there, they go through warmups, and they're not ready to go? Well, you'd still have West Weeks, and I would turn your attention back to the Florida game when Witt gets ejected for targeting, and then West goes down with the calf. That's when you saw Devon Keys really step in there and had to play basically the entire game after Weeks goes down on the first drive with the targeting. And he was awesome. He was your leading tackler in that ball game. You even saw Zach Weeks get in there after West. So you have plenty of depth at linebacker. It is probably your deepest position on defense. If not, it's on the short list. That being said, you would much rather have Witt and West out there and then Perk and let your defense function at its highest level as it's done the majority of this season. Jamari Butler's the one that's really, really intriguing because you're already down Gabe Relaford. If Butler can't go, that severely impacts your rotation. You would be left with Pyburn and Peyton. You definitely see an increased snap count from Dylan Carpenter. And then you turn to some of those other younger edge rushers, maybe like a Kalaj Collins, who they're really high on, guys like that to fill it. But what you'd really be asking is a lot from Pyburn and Peyton for them to stay on the field maybe more than they have the majority of the year, because that's actually been the thing that's allowed LSU to be so fresh in the second half is the rotation at so many positions, and defensive end edge is one of those. I like to focus, I do this a lot with Hanny on pregame. One of the things I love to point out is how dominant LSU's defense has been in the second half. They've allowed 10 points against power forward competition in the second half, and the rotations is a big, big, big part of that. Without Jamari Butler, that rotation gets cut way down, and you ask a lot more of Peyton and Pyburn while rotating in more with Dylan Carpenter and some other guys. Now, sticking on the defensive line, we mentioned Bernard Gooden. Bernard Gooden, bruised collarbone is what Brian Kelly termed it. Happened in the South Carolina game. He is doubtful. They're not expecting him to play. And Brian Kelly was asked after practice on Thursday who fills Gooden's spot.
Well, Mathis has done a really good job, right? He's been in a nice rotation there. So I think you'll see him get involved a little bit more. And that gives us four, right? That gives us four guys inside where we feel like that's a pretty good rotation.
And you know what? You have to feel really good about what you've seen from Walter Buddy Mathis up to this point. So Buddy Mathis has played in all 6 games for LSU so far this season. He's played double-digit snaps in 4 out of those 6, 60 snaps total on the season. And he's been really productive. I mean, against Florida, power forward competition, he graded out a 65 per Pro Football Focus. That's a really good veteran Florida offensive line, too. Like, there have been very productive moments from Buddy Mathis this year. And it really just caught everybody's attention late in that Clemson game when he was on the field, and then you really have just seen his snap count go up since then. And back on September the 18th, so this would have been as heading into Florida. Or I take that back. This is heading into Southeastern. This would be heading into Southeastern. It was the Thursday press conference, and Brian Kelly was asked about Walter Mathis getting those early reps and what he did to earn them.
You know, I have an old adage about how do you get a defensive lineman off of a block, and you just yell louder, get off the block. My point being, sometimes he just has a good feel of shedding offensive linemen, and did that without much teaching. He came in right away and had those natural instincts. And I think sometimes that's what accelerates some of the young players. They just have a natural instinct to do the job that they're asked to do. And they kind of move ahead of everybody a little bit. And then as those guys get some experience that didn't have maybe that trait, they come along. And that was Mathis. He just had that natural trait.
The natural instincts, man, you can tell, listening to Brian Kelly, they feel really good about Buddy Mathis. And it shows that he's played 60 snaps over 6 games. And he talks about shedding linemen, making the play. This is a guy whose tackling grade over those 6 games has been a 75 averaged out. Like, he has made plays. So if you're going to be without Bernard Gooden, like it appears that you will be, doubtful, as we said, and Mathis has really been taking those reps, rotating in, if you're going to have to put a true freshman in, I don't think you could really pick a better one right now than Mathis because of what he's been able to do so far this season. Now, what does it look like? I would tell you, I think it looks very similar to what LSU's done with Dylan Carpenter so far. Like, you're still going to see Jacobian Guillory, Dom McKinley, Ahmad Bro take the majority of those reps. You've got 3. When they need a breather, when they need to go take a breath, that's when you see Mathis come in. When you lost Relaford, it was, okay, Carpenter's going to fill into that role and give you your 4th. He played 9 snaps against Ole Miss. He played 14 against South Carolina. That would be right in line with really the snap count that you've seen from Buddy Mathis so far this season. Might he get a few more? Sure, because the playmaking ability, as we said, and the natural instincts, and they're really high on him. You want to see what he can do. But he's a rotational piece for you there, and a darn good one. You want those guys to play, obviously. But you have very capable backups. The depth on this team, we've talked about it all the way back since fall camp, is its greatest strength. We'll see what happens with pregame warm-ups with a guy like Whit Weeks and Jamari Butler. I mean, I'm fired up for a little bit more run for Buddy Mathis because he's been pretty impressive here so far early in 2025. All right, we're going to grab a break. We'll come back on the other side. Continue. Get a check-in on the New Orleans Saints. They're about to get off the practice field down there in Metairie. Maybe get your participation report and whatnot. We'll go through the full injury report a little bit later on in the show. Fantasy Blitz still to come. Go ahead, put your questions in the Bayou Ford YouTube chat for Darren Teakin, whotostart.net. Tweet them at me on X or Twitter at Musso Matthews so we can get them all lined up. We'll have that to close out hour number 1 here on a Thursday edition of AFR. Stick around.
After further review.
Let's rev, y'all. Let'sRev.com. Let'sRev.com. You already know about Rev. We're encouraging you to switch to Rev, Louisiana's largest privately owned and operated internet service provider. It is known for its 5-star customer service and reliability. And now Rev is powered by an all-fiber network backed by local support teams right here in South Louisiana. Rev has a 90-year legacy of local service. Rev has got you covered. So log on to letsrev.com, R-E-V, letsrev.com, letsrev.com for your home or for your business. I can tell you, honest to goodness, true story, this week on Monday in our neighborhood, the Rev crews were in our front yard digging up the yard, laying fiber. I cannot wait to have Rev fiber at our house. You should have it at your home, your office as well. Learn more at letsrev.com. Switch today, letsrev.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
As we get on down the road, got to remind you about Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouses.com, Rouses.com. Go to Rouses.com because there they have the weekly ad, so you can get all of the weekly specials at Rouses.com. Download the Rouses app. That's important because remember, you can get the curbside pickup option on the Rouses app. Go to the Rouses app, select your items. Your personal shopper will bring the items out to your car when you pull into the designated space. Spend $35. That service is totally free. Saves you time, saves you money, saves you the aggravation. It's Rouses, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Hey, both the Tigers and the Saints are on the road this week, so maybe you're having that home game watch party Saturday or Sunday. Rouses can help you cover that spread, the tailgate spread, all throughout the year. Need some meat for the grill, your party platters, your tailgate trays. They got you covered for everything and all your beverages, adult and otherwise. Rouses.com. Rouses, this feels like home.
All right, the New Orleans Saints, they're off the practice field down there in Metairie. Ross Jackson over at LouisianaSports.net has the full participation report. And, man, there's some really good news. There's one player that was not observed in the open portion of practice, and that was Devon Godshaw. And if you follow what's been happening with Godshaw really throughout the entire season, Thursday's pretty much been a veteran rest day for Godshaw. What that means is Alvin Kamara was back at practice. And look, that's massive. You'll remember last week in the lead up to the Patriots game, Kamara hurt his ankle in a practice is what Kellen Moore said. He was limited throughout the week, ended up playing. When the Saints took the practice field on Wednesday, Kamara was not out there, a DNP. And after practice, Kellen Moore, this is number 6, Jordan. Kellen Moore was asked, okay, well, with Alvin not out there, he played. Was there a setback? Did the injury get a little bit more severe?
That suggests you're suggesting it's a similar severity as last week. It didn't get worse.
No.
He said no, pretty emphatically, just back to back. That was it. No. And there's the proof out there on Thursday. Alvin Kamara back at practice. So look, I mean, that's huge. The Saints offense, while they've been able to put up some yards while they've moved the football, they haven't finished in the red zone very well. They haven't, and they've settled for field goals, right? A lot is what I was getting at there. Alvin Kamara is a huge part of that offense. Now, I understand they've done all that with Alvin Kamara out on the field, and Kendre Miller's been, I think, everything you really could expect and more so far this season, really in his first full opportunity at action. And cool, man, don't you just... I hope Kendre Miller goes and runs for 100 yards this weekend against Dennis Allen's defense, but that we can get into that a bit later. That's not here nor there here. You want Alvin Kamara out there. He is your best offensive weapon. Point blank, period, end of sentence, new thought. He is your best offensive weapon. With all due respect to Spencer Rattler, with respect to Rashid Shaheed, Taysom Hill's obviously been great since he's returned. Alvin Kamara is your best, and you need him. And this is a great step. We'll wait for the official injury report to come out to see the designation. I would guess probably limited, but for him to be back just in general is big. The other really interesting one is Isaac Yiadom was back. Remember, he's dealing with the hamstring, but he has that thing in his contract, the clause in his contract, where if he reaches a certain number of snaps, the Saints will forfeit draft compensation and whatnot. With him being back at practice is interesting. I still probably would not expect him to play for that reason. The Saints are going to want to keep all the draft capital that they can. And Isaac Yiadom isn't a game-changing player for New Orleans, but to see him back out there is interesting. I think that's going to be something to monitor. We don't get any media availability from Kellen Moore on Thursday. He'll meet with the media again on Friday before they wrap up the week and then head up to Chicago on Saturday. So I'm sure he'll be asked about that, and we'll ask Mike Triplett about it when he's here at the bottom of the third hour. Maybe what it means for Yiadom returning to practice, but that is intriguing. And then Alontae Taylor, Chris Olave, they were obviously both limited Wednesday as well. They were back. So, look, man, Kellen Moore and that staff, they did a lot. They did a lot throughout training camp and whatnot to make sure that this team came into the season healthy, and they did. But through the first 5-6 weeks, there have been injuries. This is the healthiest the Saints have been since training camp, it appears, heading into this game against the Chicago Bears. And I don't really think that can be overstated. So that's awesome. I mean, you'll see guys on the report Friday again, but what's going to be important is that Olave, Taylor, Kamara, that those guys don't regress. They don't go to a DMP after returning. And if that's the case, with a veteran rest day, right, for Devon Godshaw, you're going to be pretty much at full strength. And that's huge, especially along the offensive line for LSU. And, for the New Orleans Saints. But particularly with Kamara, your best offensive weapon being there. Kellen Moore also on Wednesday talked about facing the Dennis Allen defense. And if in tape and whatnot, because look, Kellen Moore's got an extensive history going up against DA. But if watching the tape for this week, if he's noticed any new wrinkles from Dennis Allen.
Every place is going to be a little bit different just because, you're going to have a foundation from a systematic approach, and then you're going to evaluate your roster and kind of make the adjustments necessary. I think, the biggest thing is their defense is playing fast, physical. They're playing, obviously, with a lot of confidence. The turnover thing is real. It seems like, every year there's a couple of these teams that just, they're making them happen each and every week. And so certainly they're on that trend line. They're doing a great job of attacking the football. They had 3 this past game. You can argue they had 3 more opportunities that they could have gotten as well. And so, they're playing a very confident brand of football on that side of the football right now.
One area they have struggled is in the secondary. They're near the bottom of the NFL in passing defense, are the Chicago Bears. Now, granted, look, they performed quite well against Jaden Daniels in a really tough, dynamic offense for the Commanders. Maybe that's something you build off of. But again, this is a shorter week for Chicago than it is for New Orleans. So you would hope that goes into the Saints' favor. I just back to what I said earlier, I really hope this is just a great game for Kendre Miller. Because I think we can all look at this now. And look, he had his problems with injury and whatnot. Like, that is documented, that we're not sweeping that under the rug. But there was a disconnect between Kendre Miller and Dennis Allen. I think that is very apparent at this point, that he was definitely in some sort of doghouse with DA. Kellen Moore, when he got to New Orleans, talked about clean slate for everybody. The reason he talked about that, the question was asked of Kendre Miller. And Kendre Miller has stayed healthy this season. He has worked really hard, and he has produced for the New Orleans Saints, specifically down the stretch in ball games, running hard as a great change of pace. And you know what? As much as Dennis Allen is going to want to go out there and have a great defensive game and shut down a New Orleans Saints offense, like, there's got to be some revenge on the mind for DA up there, no doubt. You cannot convince me or tell me otherwise that Kendre Miller is not feeling those same things. He may never admit it, but this one means a little bit more for Kendre Miller. I will not be convinced otherwise. Like, this is one he's had circled, right? That he can go out there and prove himself. And I hope he does. I hope he runs for like 100 yards. Maybe catches a few passes out the backfield. I kind of want Kendre Miller, and this might be, a ridiculous thing to say, but it also shows you where the Saints season is, and I think what we all thought it would be. I kind of want Kendre Miller to go out there and have that day more than I want the Saints to win. Is that weird, Jordan? You're a Saints guy.
I wouldn't say it's weird because you understand
they're 1-5.
What happened. Well,
they're 1-5.
But also you understand what DA put him through.
Yeah.
This man was healthy and they put him on IR.
Yeah.
And it made the narrative around his name that, he can't stay healthy. Just to find out, no, he's kind of a spring chicken because he has no wear and tear on his body, and we're reaping the benefits of it this year. So no, yes, you're not crazy for wanting Kendre Miller to break out, but really, I'm really more to see Spencer Rattler as Caleb Williams. I know he's got I know he's fired up for this one. I know he's fired up.
I'm sure he is. Same draft class, and not only that,
he took your job.
He took your job. I was about to say, that's the guy
He ran you out of town.
He did. He did run you out of town.
Yeah.
Although, look, Rattler had some success at South Carolina. But there's a lot of storylines involved in this ancillary to the actual game. Rattler and Williams. And poor Caleb Williams. He's just going to be compared to everybody else in that draft class. But that's what happens when you get him one overall. Kendre Miller, Dennis Allen, and the Saints. So there's plenty of intrigue when you look at this and you see a 1-5 Saints team heading up there to face Chicago. And it's just always nice to beat the Bears. the Bears are not well thought of down here. And count me in that number. I don't really like the Chicago Bears very much. So we'll see. But, yeah, I consider it a success this week if Kendre Miller just sticks it to Dennis Allen. You don't have to wonder. Maybe he scores the game-winning touchdown. Maybe we can have it both ways. The Saints win and Kendre Miller gets the last laugh.
And we do that, I might have to get a tattoo or something. I don't know.
Easy,
get
Jordan.
Miller.
Easy. That's going to be recorded. Everyone heard that, and we're gonna have to hold you to that now.
Oh, hey. Number 5. I'll do a number 5. I ain't getting Kendre Miller name. We'll do a number 5.
Just the number 5. That could be
Just
anybody.
number 5.
Yeah, number 5
exactly.
could be anybody.
It could be a biblical number for all I care. You don't know why I got the 5.
Okay. You got to make it black and gold, though. There has to be some type of hint.
See, I'm kind of black, so it's like that's not really going to show up too much on my skin. But we can try necessarily. But we can work something out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
You heard it here first. If Kendre Miller scores the game-winning touchdown, Jordan's getting a tattoo
Of 5.
Of the number 5.
Let's a 5.
All right, it's on the record now. We're holding you to it. All right, we're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. We'll go around the SEC. Fantasy Blitz still to come. Get your questions in. Bayou Ford YouTube chat. Personalized fantasy football advice from Darren Teagan and the guys over at whotostart.net. Bayou Ford YouTube chat. Drop your question in there. Also, you can hit me up on X or Twitter at Musso Matthew with your question. We'll get those answered here in about 15 minutes on a Thursday edition of AFR. Stick around.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Darren James and Associates, brokered by LPT Realty. That's Listing Power Tools, LPT Realty. I'm telling you, you want the best realtor in Baton Rouge, in the state of Louisiana, you want Darren James. It's not my opinion. I mean, it is my opinion, but it's also objective truth. Darren James on the Wall Street Journal Real Trends list of the top 1% of realtors in America. When you look at the transaction numbers, there is no realtor in the state of Louisiana that closes more sales than Darren James. Nobody. So if you need to sell your home and get to the closing table, you need Darren James. And if you're thinking of selling your home, first you got to know how much your home is worth. Like, how much can you sell it for? Great idea. Go to agent225.com, agent225.com. Do it right now. Get your phone out. Agent225.com. There's the home value tab. Type in your address. Boom. It'll give you an accurate price in seconds. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
Brought to you by Evermore. Drink Evermore, EVAMOR, evermore.com, evermore.com. For elite athletes, for someone who just wants a healthier lifestyle. Maybe you're a parent, you want a healthier option for your children. Evermore is a great option. I would highly encourage you, bottom line, if you're drinking tap water, don't. Bare minimum, filter your tap water. But the best option is Evermore. This is natural artesian water. It's underground aquifers on the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain, right there in Covington. They dug a well into that aquifer, and I mean, it's literally thousands of years in the making. That's why they call it Mother Nature's masterpiece. That's what they're pulling out of the ground. The only filtration is take like the sediment from the ground out of the water, and it goes right into the bottle. So it never touches air until you uncap it, take that first delicious sip. Learn more where you can buy it, great retailers or online, EVAMOR, evermore.com.
Rolling along here after further review on a Thursday, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Musso in for Moscona. Scone is wheels up right now. He's in the air, flying up to Nashville, bring you AFR from Friends in Low Places, the Garth Brooks Bar on Broadway Friday. And, man, look, we got a great show lined up tomorrow already. So, Sean Salisbury, who wasn't able to be with us on Tuesday, he's going to join Matt tomorrow. We'll get a preview of Vanderbilt from Chris Lee tomorrow on the show. If you're in Nashville for the game, you're going to be on Broadway. We all know you are. Swing into Friends in Low Places. Check out AFR. See Matt there live for an edition of AFR. We're going to go around the SEC here momentarily, but a quick recruiting update for you. Javon Vital Jr., 2027 wide receiver out of the state of Louisiana, was set to announce his commitment today, Thursday, October the 16th. We previewed it with Shea Dixon on Tuesday. There's been a change of plans. Javon Vital tweeted out late last night that he is now pushing the decision back until after the football season ends for Hamilton Christian. This is a guy, he's 13. He's a 3-star. He's the 13th overall player in the state of Louisiana for 2027. It's a guy who Shea told us here again on Tuesday that he had his prediction in for LSU to land Vital. That has now been pushed back to the end of the season. What that means for LSU, for their chances of landing him, not sure. This could just be a thing where, man, look, Hamilton Christian's undefeated for the first time in a very, very long time, and he just wants to focus on that season, not take away from that moment, and announce his decision later. Again, this is a 2027 this is a class of 2027 guy, but just to pass that along, because we did preview that earlier in the week with Shea. It was set for today, but he has made the decision to push that back till the end of their season. So we'll continue to follow it, and we'll bring you the update and obviously the news when Javon Vital does indeed make his decision. Again, 3-star, 13th ranked player in the state of Louisiana, wide receiver out of Hamilton Christian. Shea said on Tuesday he would be the first player ever to commit to LSU out of Hamilton Christian, which that'd be pretty cool. That'd be a pretty awesome honor for him. So we'll keep you posted on that. They have, I don't really know how many weeks are left in the high school season. Can't be many. So playoff run and all that, hopefully to come for them, and Vital will make his announcement public after that concludes. All right, it's After Further Review here on a Thursday, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Let's go ahead and go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Georgia Bulldogs.
Dogs 24/7 reporting that Georgia safety Kyron Jones suffered a foot injury that will keep him out indefinitely. Per a source to Dogs 24/7, Jones will consult with some of the nation's leading specialists to determine the best treatment option. He was one of 5 Bulldogs listed out on the Wednesday availability report. He started all 6 of Georgia's games so far this season, but seniors Ja'Cory Thomas and Adrian Maddox are among the options to replace him. Kyron Jones out indefinitely with a foot.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Good news for the Oklahoma Sooners and Brent Venables. Starting right tackle Derek Simmons will be available for this weekend's game against South Carolina. He left the Texas game a week ago with an injury. He was rolled up on at the end of a run, I should say, in the first quarter. Did not return. After that, Brent Venables just a day ago deemed Simmons day-to-day following that injury. Now he's good to go. So really, really good news. Derek Simmons will be available for Oklahoma against South Carolina.
The Florida Gators.
Florida, they landed a defensive back Tennessee. This is my mistake. I told you wrong, Jordan.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Tennessee landed a defensive back out of the state of Florida. See how that happened there?
It's good. We working.
Yeah. 2027 cornerback Kamari Whitfield. He's out of Orlando. Announced Wednesday night he's going to Tennessee. Visited the Vols for their victory over Arkansas on Saturday. Picked Tennessee over Florida State, Arkansas, Florida, and Nebraska. 5'11", 185 pounds. He's the number 35 cornerback in the 2027 class. He's headed to Knoxville.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Oh, boy. Kentucky basketball. There was a report in the Lexington Herald-Leader on Thursday about their NIL budget. And look, we knew they were big spenders in the transfer portal this offseason, giving Mark Pope everything he needed. Didn't quite know how big. How about $22 million for Kentucky men's basketball, per the Lexington Herald-Leader? By far expected to be the most expensive roster in college basketball for 25-26. It was thought that the budget was going to be around 10, now $22 million. For comparison's sake, John Calipari's last team in Kentucky was estimated to be around $4 million, maybe a little less. Mark Pope's first team a year ago doubled that, so around $8 million. $22 million here in 25, 26 for Kentucky men's basketball. Hey, Mark Stoops, eat your heart out. There you have it. That's around the SEC. That's a staggering number for men's basketball. When you and look, Kentucky had already talked about that. That's where they were going to funnel the majority of their money. It was going to go to men's basketball and not football. But man, if you're Mark Stoops, even knowing that and now seeing that report, that's just got to sting. Stoops' name has been floated for that Virginia Tech job plenty. And you know what? I think he'd be a great fit up there. And I would not blame him one bit if he took that job and left. You're going to have a bigger, I don't know how big, but a bigger commitment at Virginia Tech for your team over basketball. And we all know how big basketball is at Kentucky, how much they care about that. I mean, they sell out Rupp Arena for exhibition games, right? Like, we understand what basketball is at Kentucky. But we also understand what football is for the rest of your athletic department. And Kentucky has just cast that to the wayside. So if you're Mark Stoops, your name's being floated for that Virginia Tech job, hell yeah, you consider it, because you're going to get a bigger budget over there for your program that's deserved, higher investment. You have an easier path to the college football playoff, obviously, at Virginia Tech than you ever would at Kentucky in the SEC. If I'm Mark Stoops, I'm definitely interviewing for that job, and if it's offered, I'm taking it. And I'm on the first plane out of Lexington, Kentucky, and good luck. Good luck to Kentucky trying to replace him if that does happen when you're dumping that much into basketball and not football, because you're handcuffing somebody immediately. It's a lot like what Arkansas has just admitted with Sam Pittman. He wasn't set up to win. They're set up to win very much in every other sport. Their AD said baseball. Well, let's be honest here. Probably not, but it's fine. They'll get there. It'll just, they'll find a way. But now you fired Sam Pittman. You're looking for a new coach. There's a renewed commitment. It doesn't feel like that's coming at Kentucky. But if I'm Mark Stoops, I'm definitely keeping all my options open. $22 million. For reference, Brian Kelly said LSU's roster was $18 million this year. Kentucky just put $22 million into basketball. What do you think they've given Mark Stoops? Find you a new job, Mark. You're a really good coach, and you've had a lot of success there, too. 10 wins at Kentucky.
Hey, when you put in perspective like that, that makes it crazier, because
Right.
$18 million for a football roster compared to $22 million for a basketball roster, that's kind of crazy. I didn't even think about it in that perspective.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
Mark Stoops, best of luck with whatever's next. If you're at Kentucky next year, or if you're somewhere else, maybe Virginia Tech, best of luck. All right, we're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side. Darren Tietgen joins us. It's our Fantasy Blitz. Get your questions in. WhoToStart.net, personalized fantasy football advice. Tweet me at Musso Matthew with questions, or the Bayou Ford YouTube chat. We'll get Darren to answer them next here to close out hour number 1 of AFR.
Let's talk
AFR.
about Clegg's Nursery. I love going to Clegg's Nursery. Listen, if you're a deer hunter, hey, Matt, I thought they were a nursery and a garden center. They are. But they also have buckbusters and mobucks and deer corn and rice bran. So if you're setting your plots for this deer hunting season, go to Clegg's. Always encourage you to bypass the big box store. Bypass the big orange and blue box stores. You need your flowers and your plants and your trees and your shrubs and your garden tools and anything for insects or pests or any of those things that might be around your lawn, your garden, your home. They got everything you need, even floodlights and trash bags and things like that. Bypass the box store and support a great local business that's been in our community for 60 years. They got Johnny Naylor seeds as well. You're planting that fall vegetable garden. Now's the time to get the seeds in the ground. Nobody has a better selection than Clegg's Nursery. And, of course, not too late. We're creeping up on Halloween. You want that pumpkin scarecrow display, that fall display. They got everything you need. Buy local, shop local, tell them Matt sent you to Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
All right, rolling along here. Thursday edition of AFR. Almost said Friday. Matt will be back on Friday live from Nashville for the LSU Vandy game. So we're taking you home here on a Thursday afternoon. It's that time. Thursday Night Football. Do Fantasy Blitz.
After further review, this is the Fantasy Football Blitz.
Do you know who I am?
Powered by whotostart.net.
Who the hell are you?
Whotostart.net. The Fantasy Football Blitz.
Who's the bitten?
This is the Fantasy Football Blitz. Powered by whotostart.net.
All right, personalized fantasy football advice from the guys at whotostart.net. We welcome on Darren Teak in for another week. Darren, how are you?
Doing good. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So let's just dive right into it. Thursday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers versus Joe Flacco. Not Packers-Ravens, though. This is Steelers and Bengals. What are we keeping an eye on tonight?
Yeah, this is what they call the icy hot bowl or something like that.
Yeah. And then Max Scherzer's pitching tonight, too. So it's just a bunch of old guys out there.
Yeah. So Social Security is going to be collected. So, listen, on paper, this doesn't look like a great matchup, overall. But fantasy-wise, I think some points might be scored in this game. Cincinnati's defense has been terrible. Aaron Rodgers has been connecting with DK Metcalf pretty well. They're getting Jalen Warren back, so he should have a decent game as well. And Joe Flacco is going to sort of fling the ball all over the place. And so Jamar Chase and T. Higgins should have some targets coming their way. So this might be kind of a sneaky, fun matchup for Thursday night.
Sleepers for this week in the NFL?
Yeah, we got a running back and a wide receiver for you. First, at running back, we have Isaiah Pacheco. He's kind of been all over the place. Hasn't really looked like himself for the first few weeks of the season. But now with Rashee Rice back, that offense is going to be 100%, and he's going to find some running lanes. He started to look a little bit more like himself last week, running really hard. So Isaiah Pacheco, he's got a good matchup as well. So if you need a running back and he happens to be on the wire, if you think you can get him for cheap, he's a good option for this week. Wide receiver-wise, and this is kind of injury-dependent because he hasn't been practicing, but Zay Jones, the wide receiver for the Cardinals, looks like Marvin Harrison Jr. might be out. Their second wide receiver, Michael Wilson, might be out. And Jacoby Brissett, the backup quarterback, was really looking Zay Jones's way quite a bit. Last week, I think he finished with 8 targets for 15 or 5 catches for 79 yards, so not bad in spot duty. So he's got a decent matchup himself, but just watch the injury update on him.
All right, let's go ahead and get to your questions for Darren. Of course, personalized fantasy football net advice, whotostart.net. Chandler Watts, Trey Tucker, or Kayshon Boutte? Who to start?
I like what Boutte's doing. Trey Tucker's kind of up and down. He was hot to start the season. He has to compete with targets with Jacoby Myers there. Boutte's been really on track with Drake May and has good matchups. So I would lean towards Boutte there.
Who to start, Henderson or Cam Skattebo at running back?
Yeah, I'm not buying into the Henderson thing quite yet until he puts something on paper that actually looks good. And Skattebo's been given to the end zone, so I think Skattebo's the play there.
Who to start, Kyle Pitts or Mason Taylor? Former LSU Tiger there, Mason Taylor.
Yeah, former LSU Tiger. So Mason Taylor actually has a really nice matchup against Carolina. We have him pretty close to Pitts in the overall rankings for this weekend. Really, honestly, just flip a coin. I think the upside is with Taylor. Pitts might be a little bit safer, but I think if you're a gambling man, then go with Mason Taylor there.
Darren, this is not one that I thought we'd really probably approach this season, but you know what? Danny Dimes playing pretty well. Who to start, Justin Herbert or Daniel Jones?
Wow, that's tough. I mean, both have good matchups. Both have been performing very well. And obviously, we didn't think Daniel Jones was going to be much of anything, if even a starter. But he's been doing really well. I think this week they might lean on their run game a little bit more with Jonathan Taylor there. So I think Herbert's probably the better play.
Who to start, Jordan Mason or Chase Brown? We got about a minute and a half.
Yeah, both of those guys haven't. I mean, Jordan Mason's been all right with Aaron Jones out. Brown tonight, not a great matchup against the Steelers. I think I'm benching Brown until he really pops.
We have one in the flex here. Kamani Vidal or Keenan Allen? Who to start?
Yeah, Allen's with Vlad McConkey starting to kind of pick up the pace. Allen's targets have kind of dipped a little bit. Vidal looks like the number one running back right now for the Chargers, and they have a good matchup. So I would go to Vidal there.
We'll get you out of here on this one. Who to start, Jacoby Myers or Jamison Williams, PPR?
Yeah, if you want to play it safe, Jacoby Myers is a safe, 5-6 catch kind of guy. Jamison Williams is going to get those long touchdowns. They have a good matchup. Should be a lot of passing in that Detroit game. So I think I'm going Williams there.
Whotostart.net. Go there for all your personalized fantasy football advice. Darren and the guys do a great job. Darren's with us here every Thursday for the Fantasy Blitz. Darren, we appreciate it, and we'll do it again next week.
Sounds good. Thanks. Absolutely.
That is Darren Teagan. Again, whotostart.net for your personalized fantasy football advice. All right, that puts hour one in the books. We're going to grab a break. SportsCenter is going to get you caught up on national headlines. When we return, there is one matchup in this LSU-Vanderbilt game that I think decides it. We'll tell you what it is when we kick off hour number 2 of After Further Review, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. That's next. Stick around.
AFR.
Brought to you by South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com. In the market for a new vehicle, might be in the market for a new vehicle. Say it all the time. Just put Volkswagen on your list. So much of the Volkswagen brand is built around having fun. It exudes that when you go to South Point Volkswagen. They're going to work a great deal, and they got the best inventory. Remember, if it's on the lot, it's online at southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned. Check their entire inventory online. Work out your financing online. Do it all online at southpointvw.com. Then go see them at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction?